So how do you then, when you in that example, so that's I see in many ways that is leads to relief, you're not alone, building community, and that also sounds like a very detailed, complex project that you've just birthed. So like that's a whole other, half-time job.
It is, and it's not. And the reason I say that is you think about getting a loan for yourself, replumbing your house. That's a huge project all by itself.
Yeah.
Gathering everything you need, finding a lender that will look at you and not say, well, you've got this and you've got that. So what we tend to do is we tend to see this as a big project without realizing that this is a big project too if we did it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do it with other people, then we can say, will you go talk to the city? We're going to talk to some plumbers, and we're going to, again, you're building it together and you're sharing it together.
Mm-hmm.
It may wind up being a little bit more work for a lot better payoff. But we tend to think that it is more work or harder work if others are going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be. Can be, but doesn't have to be.
Yep.
Hildy, what you shared about assumptions speaks to, Virginia posted a question, which is a lot of our assumptions and noticing in our head. She shared a lot of it is getting over the mental block that we all set, that it's too hard, it's too much work, we can't do it. What technique have you used over the years to push yourself past that mindset?
For me, it's the stories, and I'm sure it's different for everybody, but when you take the time and listen to people's stories, especially if you're in the human services field, having schizophrenia without a home, living by the river, that's hard. Collaborating with like-minded people or other organizations, that's not hard.
Yeah. Wow. We used to work with someone who would say, it's hard or not. That perspective, Christy, is just, yeah. Is it harder than the thing that you're working on? If you're working in community and the lives that people have to live, that's brilliant, Christy. I love that. For me personally, much of it has to do, again, it's the muscle memory. It is the practice. It is asking myself the question, what's really going on? Why am I resisting this? Because generally, it's half joking, it's hard or not. How many times do we put off doing something because we just don't want to do it and it's going to be hard, and it takes us 10 minutes and we go, why did it take me 3 months to do this? And we create this story in our heads about it's going to be hard, and whatever it is, we're resisting it for some reason. And the more we can get into the practice of asking ourselves the questions, what's going on with me? I mean, this is a big piece of catalytic listening, which is a whole nother class, but really asking what's going on with me? I'm resisting this. Why am I resisting this? What am I really resisting about it? Sometimes it's I'm resisting picking up the phone. Sometimes I'm resisting because I don't want to look like a fool. Whatever it is. And then there's just this series of practices of asking, when was the last time I really looked like a fool when I picked up the phone? Oh, probably never. Okay, then my chances are pretty good this time. Whatever it is that might be standing in the way, but it's again, the catalytic listening practice of really asking to get to the heart of what's really going on, to separate out reality from the stories that we tell ourselves about reality. And it's hard is a story we tell ourselves. Christy, I'm going to keep that in my brain for probably the rest of my life. We were at Creating the Future Fellows presented at BoardSource several years ago. And when we weren't presenting, we all went to different sessions. And every time we came back together after the sessions, it was so interesting to hear everybody's observations, because they all had the same observation, which is in every session, BoardSource is all about boards of directors of community organizations. And at every point where people were talking about ways to engage your board and ways to make governance really alive, and at every point they would say, now it's hard, but it's worth doing. And we just, all of us had this cringing, because if you tell people it's hard, if we tell ourselves it's hard, we'll believe it's hard. And it's why I love Bob Moore's It's Hard or Not. And we just finally we could find ourselves just tensing up every time we were in a session where people would say, now this is hard, but it's worth doing. It's like, no, stop telling people it's hard, and it probably won't be. So it is really about a practice of listening to ourselves and getting to the heart of, why do I think this is hard? And Christy, I'm going to seriously carry what you said with me. Sometimes what I find as a practice is to ask a different word for hard. So when I say it's hard, what am I really saying? Am I saying I'm scared? Am I saying it's uncertain? What am I really saying? Because we use hard to cover a whole lot of, and it's usually just resistance. So what, either the question of what am I really resisting, or what do I really mean by hard? Frequently we say it's going to be hard when we say it's going to take a lot of work. There's a difference between the way our brains process. And again, it's all about, are we using language that's triggering our fear? So when we say it's going to be hard, I don't want to do that. It's going to be hard. When I say it's going to take a lot of work, that may trigger it because I may already have a lot of work, but at least I'm talking rationally. I'm not assigning an emotion to it. I'm talking rationally about it's going to take a lot of work. Okay, what will it take then? Is it worth doing? And what will it take? Can we break down that lot of work? Can we share that lot of work? And it becomes words that we can work with, rather than words that just are barriers and stop us. And you know, there's a lot of words like that. It's hard. There's a lot of challenges. We are taught, again, Rebecca, you asked early on, what are the systems? What are the normal systems? The normal systems talk about planning and tell us to plan for the challenges and obstacles and barriers. What are the challenges and obstacles and barriers going to be? Okay, now I already know there's going to be challenges and obstacles and barriers. If instead we asked, what's it going to take? What would it take to accomplish this? We've got the exact same things. It's going to take bringing people on board. What would the barrier be? Nobody's on board. Okay, so we've got different ways. If we approach it from a what will it take standpoint, then we're avoiding that it's hard, it's a challenge, it's a barrier language.